Okay, so sustainability, I'm picking up a bit of mixed messages at the moment. Clearly COP27's on at the moment, so people are heading hopefully in the right direction, although different things are coming out of that. I've read a recent, I think it was EcoAct, where I think they're part of Atos survey that said in FTSE 100 businesses, we've gone into climate reverse, whatever that is, which sounds a bit alarming. But you folks have done, I think, 2 surveys with, is it 451 and Forrester, where I think the good news is that 73% also of organizations have sustainability at number 2 on the agenda, which is probably a good place for it to be. But that's out of, well, I think the other survey said only 33% have a strategic plan. So after that sort of long-winded introduction, have you any thoughts as to what's going on? And I guess for the purposes of our conversation, where the data center industry should be focusing its attention?
Yeah, it's an interesting time at the moment there, Phil. The research clearly demonstrates that across both the data center industry and the IT industry, there's a gap, an action gap between sustainability, the intention that appears there, and the gap between the action. There's a bit of that part is lacking. The industry is taking key steps to address sustainability. We've seen that over the past couple of years, and it's great that it's recognised as a priority at board level now. But with some real exceptions, there's a lack of a comprehensive and supported sustainable action plan. The measured targets that exist out there to create the change and the momentum that we need around the climate crisis. You look at some of the things that we've done within Schneider Electric, the data center of the future architecture, the vision that we have at the moment around electricity 4.0, and the industry first data center sustainability framework. These are key areas that I think as a private sector, we have a real role to play in terms of driving this momentum around sustainability. The most important step that any operator can take is really to acknowledge where they are today and begin to address their environmental impact as a business. As a company, Schneider Electric are there to support them and ultimately be their partner in efficiency and sustainability.
Okay, so Schneider Electric yourselves, as you've sort of alluded to there, you make no secret of your massive commitment, I think it's fair to say, to a sustainable future. And in terms of the sort of practical terms, I know you're sort of talking about this idea of electricity 4.0. So can you give us a sort of an understanding of what it is and how it can help customers and users work towards their net zero objectives?
Yeah, of course. It's widely accepted that electricity is the fastest route to a cleaner, smarter, more efficient energy. It is the cleanest energy that we have. You look at the vector for decarbonisation with renewable energy sources. The government regulators, they're helping to create incentives and the landscape for change around electricity. I've used this comment before, and I stand by it, that the climate crisis, the climate challenge that we have today is all about energy. 80% of the carbon emissions that we see produced is linked to energy. So it is, to simplify the challenge, it's an energy challenge, the climate crisis. We believe at Schneider that to achieve ambitious net zero goals, we must focus on this world of electricity 4.0, which brings together both digitalisation and electrification. The piece that both of them are really critical in this, because ultimately you can change behaviour around usage and energy usage with some fundamental actions around human behaviour. But to maintain that, to keep continuity and to keep improving on that behaviour, people change in organisations. people leave, and in doing so, some of that momentum changes. Digitalisation is a critical part of it. The more you digitalise your infrastructure, the more sustainable you can be, the more repetition you get around that activity. The theory around electricity 4.0, just to simplify it further, everyone knows the industrial revolutions, from the early industrial revolution to what we see as mass scale and electrification now. You copy that across with electrical revolution in terms of the very first power plants that come online, to the introduction to silicon, and then today where we have every innovation we see in the world is linked to two factors: electricity and digital. You look at those two coming together and everything is connected, and that's why electricity 4.0 is a key component to a greener, cleaner, more efficient, sustainable world in the future.
Okay, and just following up on that, I mean, one might say that sort of digitalization and sustainable power electricity, I won't say they're directly at loggerheads, but I think, as we might have discussed before, by digitizing more and more, we are potentially requiring more and more power to service that kind of digital. So just how do you see those two things sort of coexisting?
It's a great question, and I've talked through this on a number of occasions now, but not everyone will agree with me, Phil. It's really clear on it, but this piece around electric and digital, it's a critical component for a more sustainable future. As I said, if you don't digitalize, you rely on human behavior, which will always be variable, and any gains you make on these greenhouse gas emissions, they'll be hard for us to maintain. To properly digitalize, you need data. And for data, we need data centers. The industry that we all operate in will play a critical role in a more sustainable future, because as we automate more systems, as we come to rely on more artificial intelligence, our grid, our buildings, our homes, this will help us drive down greenhouse gas emissions. And for me, it's part of this change in the discussion around, as an industry, we're both part of the problem as it is today, but also the cure. What we do within our industry, the improvements that we're making, the fact that we're trying to address sustainability as an infrastructure, will help move the world forward through data and through the use of that data in a more opportune way. But we have to improve how we use energy within our centres to make sure that we're contributing to the global crisis as well, and the benefit that comes on the back of it.
Okay, so that's potentially where electricity 4.0 and sort of data centers come together. And electricity 4.0, if I just understand it from a sort of piece, it's the electricity in its widest terms. So it's everything from how we generate it, and so how efficiently we use it, and everything sort of in between. Is that right? Or are you focusing just on the fact that it doesn't matter how we produce it, but it's very important that we use what we produce in the most efficient manner? Or just sort of unpick that, if you might.
No, correct. It's all aspects of it, really. Because the renewable energy side of things, of our energy that we produce today, around about 60% of it is lost in things like transmission or non-automated usage of that energy in buildings and systems. So the how we produce it, where we produce it, is a critical part of the electricity 4.0 story. The microgrid aspect of it, where we're producing energy closer to the source of use, reduces losses in terms of that, how much we produce and then where it's used, and in terms of the transmission of electricity. There's the piece around energy efficiency, which is a far less focused on part of the energy dilemma. But if you take buildings globally, 80% of the energy savings that could be made in buildings remains untapped today. So there's this huge opportunity around energy efficiency. More broadly in buildings, so this is how we use data and digitalisation across the infrastructure that we support with our data centres to help drive down energy usage and greater energy efficiency. But then within our own buildings as well and our data centres, how do we operate those with greater energy efficiency and improve the usage of energy within them? So it's both sides of the coin, really. It's how it's generated, where it's generated, and then how it's used within our buildings and our facilities.